When a group of loudmouth bullies picks on the wrong new girl, clueless that she's hiding a secret that could flip their world upside down, they think she's an easy victim. But what they don't know is that she's a trained fighter with skills that will leave them begging for mercy. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more epic stories. The air buzzed with tension that humid August afternoon, the kind of heat that makes tempers flare and bad decisions bloom. In the crowded halls of Jefferson High, where lockers slammed and sneakers squeaked against the chipped linoleum, a small figure slipped through the chaos. Her name was Riley. New kid, quiet, with a faded hoodie pulled tight over her shoulders and eyes that darted like she was sizing up every exit. She didn't talk much, didn't flaunt herself, just kept her head down as she shuffled to her next class. But that didn't stop them from noticing her. The pack, 4 juniors with too much swagger and not enough sense, spotted her like wolves circling a stray lamb. "Hey, fresh meat," one of them hollered, his voice cutting through the chatter. Riley flinched but kept walking, her sneakers scuffing faster. That only made them laugh harder. What they didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Riley wasn't just some shy transfer student. Under that baggy hoodie, scars, calluses, a past they'd never see coming. And today was the day they learned the hard way. It started small, the way these things always do. A shoulder bump in the hallway, a snicker behind her back, a crumpled paper ball tossed at her head during lunch. Riley sat alone at the edge of the cafeteria picking at a soggy sandwich, her dark hair falling like a curtain over her face. The pack strutted by, Jake the ringleader with his slick back hair and cocky grin, flanked by his buddies all puffed up like they owned the place. "What's wrong, hoodie girl? Too good to talk to us?" Jake taunted, leaning over her table. The others cackled, egging him on. Riley's fingers tightened around her plastic fork, but she didn't look up. Not yet. "Maybe she's mute," another one chimed in, tossing a fry that bounced off her sleeve. The cafeteria hummed with its usual noise, trays clattering, kids shouting, but a few heads turned, sensing the shift. Riley's silence wasn't weakness. It was something heavier, something coiled. She'd moved here 3 weeks ago. No friends, no family, anyone knew about. Just a name on a roster and a backpack that looked like it had seen better days. Whispers had already started. Some said she'd been expelled from her last school. Others swore they'd seen her hitchhiking into town. Truth was, nobody knew her story, and that made her a target. Jake smirked, leaning closer. "Come on, say something. Or are you scared?" "Oh, he had no idea. Oh, he had no idea." The cafeteria smelled like burnt pizza and spilled milk, the kind of place where every laugh echoed too loud and every stare lingered too long. Jefferson High wasn't fancy, just a brick building on the edge of town, surrounded by cracked pavement and a football field that hadn't seen a win in years. Kids shuffled between tables, trays in hand, while the hum of fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Riley sat there, still as a statue, her fork now bent slightly in her grip. The pack didn't notice that detail. They were too busy strutting, too caught up in their own noise. Jake flicked another fry, this one landing in her lap. "Oops, guess you're a mess now, huh?" he said, grinning like he just won a prize. The others hooted, slapping his back. A few kids nearby smirked, but most just kept eating, heads down, used to this kind of show. Riley's jaw tightened, just a flicker, but her eyes stayed glued to the table. She wasn't from here. Everyone could tell that much. Her hoodie was too big, her jeans frayed at the knees, and she carried herself like someone who'd learned to shrink into shadows. Back at her old school, miles away in a town nobody here had heard of, things had been different. Raw freak. Should have talked about it, didn't need to. The way she moved, quick, quiet, always watching. Said enough. Her story wasn't written on her face, but it was there if you looked close. Born to a mom who worked doubles at a diner and a dad who split before she could walk, Rayleigh had grown up fast. By 12, she was fending off creeps in the trailer park where they lived, her small fists clenched tight. By 15, she'd found the gym. A rundown place with peeling paint and a heavy bag that swung like it was begging to be hit. An old boxer named Gus took her in, saw the fire in her, taught her how to throw a punch that could crack a jaw. "You're small, kid, but you're quick. Use that." He'd rasp, his voice gravelly from too many cigarettes. She did. She got good, real good. Then last year, everything went sideways. A fight she didn't start, a suspension she didn't deserve, and a mom who said, "We're done here." New start. So they landed in this nowhere town, and Riley swore she'd keep her head down this time. No trouble, no fights. But trouble? It has a way of finding you, doesn't it? Back in the cafeteria, the air was getting thicker, the tension creeping up like a storm nobody saw coming. Jake leaned in closer, his breath hot with cheap gum. What's your deal, huh? You think you're better than us? His voice had that edge now, the kind that said he wasn't just playing anymore. Riley's fingers twitched, letting go of the fork. She could hear Gus in her head. Don't swing unless you have to, kid. But when you do, make it count. She don't want this. Not here. Not now. She'd promised herself she'd stay invisible. Just get through the year. But these guys, they weren't letting up. A crowd was starting to form. Kids nudging each other, whispering. She's going to cry, someone muttered. Nah, she's just weird, another said. Riley's chest rose and fell, slow and steady, like she was counting breaths. Outside, the sun beat down on the parking lot, glinting off rusted cars. Inside, the clock ticked above the serving line, marking seconds that felt like hours. Jake reached out, flicking her hood back, exposing her tangled hair. There, now we can see her, he crowed. The others laughed loud and sharp. Riley's head snapped up, and for the first time, she looked at him. Really looked. Her eyes? They weren't scared. They were still. And that's when the room got quiet, too quiet. What was she going to do? What was she going to do? That quiet stretched out, heavy and thick, like the whole cafeteria was holding its breath. Jake froze, his hand still hovering where he'd flicked her hood, his grin slipping just a little. Riley's eyes locked on his. Dark, steady, unflinching, and something about them made his buddies shift on their feet. The crowd pressed in closer, trays forgotten, phones creeping out of pockets. Nobody knew what was coming, but they could feel it, couldn't they? That prickly heat up the back of your neck when something big's about to blow. Riley stood up slow, her chair scraping loud against the floor, and suddenly she wasn't small anymore. Not really. The hoodie hung loose, but her shoulders squared up, her fists unclenching at her sides. Back off, she said, voice low, rough like she hadn't used it all day. Jake blinked, caught off guard. What'd you say? He snapped, stepping closer, puffing his chest like some wannabe tough guy. The others egged him on. Ooh, she talks. But their laughs sounded nervous now, brittle. Riley didn't move, didn't flinch, just stared him down. And then he made the mistake. He shoved her hard, right in the shoulder, expecting her to stumble, to shrink. Oh, he was so wrong. She didn't stumble. Didn't even sway. Riley caught her balance like she'd been waiting for it, her feet planting firm, and in one smooth move, faster than anyone could blink, she grabbed his wrist, twisted it back, and yanked him forward. Jake yelped off kilter, his sneakers squeaking as he crashed into the table. Trays clattered, a milk carton splattered across the floor, and the crowd gasped, loud and messy. What the, one of his buddies shouted. Lunging forward, but Riley was already moving. She ducked under his wild swing, popped up behind him, and drove her elbow into his ribs, not hard enough to break anything, just enough to make him wheeze and drop. The third guy hesitated, eyes wide, and that was his mistake. She swept his legs with a quick kick, sending him sprawling into a chair. It was over in seconds, a blur of motion nobody saw coming. Jake scrambled up, red face clutching his wrist. You're crazy, he yelled, but he was backing off now, his crew staggering behind him. The cafeteria erupted. Kids shouting, some cheering, some just staring like they'd seen a ghost. Riley stood there, breathing steady, hands loose again, her hood still down. She didn't say a word, didn't need to. The message was clear. Mess with her, and you'd regret it. But here's the thing. Nobody expected what came next. The noise was deafening. A chaotic mix of, did you see that? And who is she? Phones were out, filming, shaking in excited hands. Teachers were pushing through the crowd now, yelling for everyone to sit down, but it was too late. The moment had its own life. Riley didn't run. It didn't hide. She just picked up her backpack, slung it over her shoulder, and started walking toward the door. Jake and his boys were huddled by the wall, muttering, throwing dirty looks, but they didn't follow. Not this time. A girl near the edge of the crowd, some freshman with braces and a ponytail, whispered, she's badass, and her friend nodded, eyes huge. Riley heard it, maybe, because her lips twitched, just a tiny flicker, not quite a smile. She didn't want this, didn't ask for it, but there it was, the turning point. The second she stepped into that hallway, she wasn't invisible anymore. And deep down, she wasn't sure if that scared her or set her free. What now? What now? The hallway swallowed Riley up as she walked, her sneakers echoing soft against the scuffed floor, the chaos of the cafeteria fading behind her like a bad dream. Kids peeked out from classrooms, heads poking around corners, whispers buzzing like flies. That's her, someone hissed, and her phone clicked, snapping a blurry shot of her back. She didn't turn around. Didn't need to. Her heart was thumping, steady but loud, and her hands shook just a little as she tugged her hood back up. She'd kept it together in there, hadn't she? No tears, no screams, just fists and instinct. But now, alone with the locker stretching out endless on both sides, it hit her. She'd broken her promise. No trouble, she told herself, no fights. And yet here she was, 3 weeks into this new life, already the girl who dropped Jake and his crew like they were nothing. The principal's office loomed ahead, door half open, and she knew she'd be called in soon. Detention, suspension, who knew? But that wasn't what gnawed at her. It was the eyes. All those eyes watching, waiting, judging. She'd been a shadow before, and now she was a spark. She slipped into the bathroom, the one at the end of the hall nobody used, and leaned against the sink. The mirror was cracked, streaked with old graffiti, but it showed her clear enough. Messy hair, flushed cheeks, a scratch on her knuckle she had noticed. Stupid, she muttered, splashing cold water on her face. Her mom's voice echoed in her head. We're starting over, Riley. No more of that crap. She'd met the fights, the late nights, the calls from school. Riley had nodded, promised, meant it. But promises, they're fragile things, aren't they? She dried her hands on her jeans and sank to the floor, back against the tiles, knees pulled up tight. That's when the door creaked open. She tensed, ready to bolt. But it wasn't Jake or some teacher. It was that freshman, the one with the braces. Hey, the girl said, voice small but bold. You okay? Riley blinked, caught off guard. Fine, she said, rougher than she meant. The girl didn't flinch, just stepped closer. That was insane. They've been jerks forever, you know. Nobody's ever done that. Riley stared at her, waiting for the catch, but there wasn't one. Just wide eyes and a nervous grin. The bell rang, shrill and sharp, and the hall outside filled with footsteps. The girl, Lila, she said her name was, kept talking fast and jittery. I'm not like stalking you or anything. I saw it all, and I think you're cool. Riley's lips twitched again, that almost smile, and something loosened in her chest. She stood up, brushing off her jeans. Thanks, she said, softer this time. Lila beamed like she'd won something. Can I sit with you tomorrow? At lunch? Riley hesitated, the old walls creeping up. Keep your distance, stay safe. But then she nodded. Yeah, sure. Lila practically bounced out the door, leaving Riley alone again. She took a deep breath, the kind that steadies you, and headed out too. The principal nabbed her 5 minutes later. Detention 2 days, no surprise there. But it didn't sting like she thought it would. Because later, walking home through the sticky dust, she realized something. Those kids in the cafeteria, they weren't all laughing at her. Some were clapping. Some were looking at her like she'd done what they'd always wanted to. And Lila, she'd seen her, really seen her, and hadn't run. Maybe, just maybe, this place could be different. Couldn't it? Couldn't it? The walk home felt different that night, the air thick with summer's end and the faint hum of crickets in the weeds. Riley's sneakers crunched on the gravel shoulder of the road, her shadow stretching long under the flickering streetlights. Detention slip crumpled in her pocket. She kept her head down, hood up, but her mind wouldn't quit spinning. She had messed up big time, right? That's what she'd always been told. Keep quiet. Don't fight. Don't draw eyes. But those cheers in the cafeteria, Lila's shaky grin, the way Jake had backed off with that flicker of fear in his face, it stuck with her, warm and sharp all at once. She kicked a pebble, watched it skitter into the ditch. Home was a sagging rental on the edge of town, a place with chip paint and a porch that creaked too loud. Her mom would be there, probably still in her diner uniform, smelling like grease and coffee, ready to sigh. And as soon as she saw Riley slip, she'd hit the roof 2 days, she'd say, hands on hips. What'd you do this time? And Riley, she'd shrug, mumble, just some jerks, because how do you explain the truth without sounding like a brag? She let herself in quiet, the TV flickering in the living room, some old sitcom laugh track bouncing off the walls. Her mom looked up from the couch, tired eyes narrowing. You're late, she said, voice flat but heavy. Riley tossed her backpack by the door, kicked off her shoes. Yeah, got held up. She didn't wait for the follow-up, just headed to her room. A tiny box with a mattress on the floor and a window that would shut right. She flopped down, staring at the ceiling, the day replaying like a movie she couldn't pause. Those fists, that's rush, the way the crowd shifted from jeers to gasps. It wasn't just about winning. It was about standing up. For once she hadn't run. Her phone buzzed, a text from a number she didn't know. Yo, that was epic. You're a legend now. She stared at it, half smiling, half scared. A legend? Her? Next day at school, it was real. Kids parted when she walked in, whispers trailing her like smoke. That's the girl. She took down Jake. Lila found her at lunch, plopping down with a tray and a grin that wouldn't quit. Told you I'd sit with you, she chirped, and Riley didn't mind. Not really. They talked. Awkward at first, then easy. About dumb teachers, bad food, how Jake's crew slunk around all day looking sour. By the end of the week, a few others joined them, shy smiles and quick nods, like Riley was some kind of quiet hero. Her mama eased up too, after a long talk over burnt toast and cheap coffee. Just be careful, okay, she said, softer than usual. And Riley nodded, meaning it. She didn't want to fight again, didn't need to, because here's the thing. Sometimes standing up once is enough to change everything. You don't have to shout or swing. You just have to show you're not afraid. And Riley, she wasn't hiding anymore. That's a trick, isn't it? You don't find your place by shrinking. You find it by stepping into the light, scars and all, and letting the world figure out what to do with you.